Welcome to my channel, and I hope I can see today. I have notes in front of me and I wrote big but not big enough. I can see better without my glasses and they have a glare, so forgive me. And hopefully my throat lasts and I don't have to all the time. This is video 1 of 3 that I'm going to do. The first one is, did keto prepare me for this? And by this, you know what I mean. I'm not monetized, so I don't care if I say coronavirus, but they're demonetizing people for good reason for saying that word. What I want to talk about is the 2 years of being on keto and what it did for me and what I encouraged others to do and why. The second one is going to be on viruses, mostly, but there are 4 germs. There's viruses, bacteria, protozoa, and fungi. And they each are totally different in makeup and how they attack your body. Excuse me. And the third video is what's next. Our world as we know it is different than we knew it, and so we're creating a new world for ourselves, right? And I have some hints and tips and some really good information on that. All right, let's start with a virus. A virus is not alive. That's why it lives on a surface for, 24 hours to 4 days, whatever it is, and then it's gone. It's no longer active. And vaccines, supplements, and medications make the virus inactive. Okay, the first thing that the virus does is it gets into your system. It's called absorption, and it happens through your ears, your nose, your mouth, your eyes, your skin. And can be airborne, right? At first they said it wasn't, but we know it is. And then, of course, touching your face after touching something that has the virus. Okay, that's why they say wash your hands, and I'll explain that too. So what happens is it gets into your system, and those protrusions that you see coming out, the virus, those are receptors, and they're looking for a receptor in your on your cell that will accept it. Okay, what they're like little lunar landing, they're out there looking for a place to land. And so if you have a healthy cell, that virus cannot penetrate through the epithelial cell because it has a good defense system, right? And so if you're not healthy and you don't have healthy cells, then that virus can get into the cell very easily. The next deal is that it then, well, first let me say the virus is a DNA, it's information, okay? Once it gets into your cell, it now puts out a chemical tricking your healthy cell to think that this new cell needs nutrition. And so your cell starts giving it what it needs to replicate. Okay, the virus cannot replicate outside of the cell. If it can't find a place to go and get life through nutrients, then it just dies off. I say die off when I say it's not alive, but that's what happens. And so it injects the information, and it is now to the point where it's getting new parts. Your cell is giving it the building blocks to replicate, okay? We all did this in school. The cell division, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so the cell divides, and then it divides again. And each time it's building new virus, Okay, that's what it's doing. It's replicating, right? And so antibiotics, what do? They stop the replication. They don't stop the virus. It's dead. They stop the replication of the virus. Here's a good little thing I did. I got it off the internet. So there it is. It's replicating. And then there's a point at which it's receiving all the information, the building blocks. And here they are. They have now completed that. These are new virus particles. The next step is they break out of the cell. They break out, they go into your body, rinse and repeat. That's what makes them so dangerous. Okay, this C19 virus, it likes the lower respiratory. And so built into its DNA and receptors is to go look for those cells in your lower lungs, attacking them if they can. And what happens is the replication is pretty quick, actually. A slow growing virus would be like HIV. It takes a long time to replicate, and there are others. But this one, it's replicating, it takes, everybody's different, how many days to get symptoms and then how many days to peak. So what it does is it goes after all those healthy cells in the nucleus, right inside the cell. Once they penetrate, they attack that cell, and then they replicate, and they take over your lungs. And what happens? They say pneumonia. Oh, well, they got pneumonia. It's a secondary problem, right? The first one is the virus. The second one is you've got pneumonia now. And pneumonia is a building up of lungs, liquid in your lungs. I hate to be crude and rude, but you basically drown. When your lungs are filled with liquid, you drown. Some people die of cardiac arrest before this happens. My mom told me one time, everybody dies the same way. I said, how is that, Mom? How is it everybody dies the same way? She says, your heart stops. Wow. I did not know this till I was like 34, right? But she's right. Excuse me. If you stop breathing and you drown, your heart's going to beat slower and slower and slower until it's not beating, and they pronounce you dead. I mean, really? To me, a heartbeat is life and a non-heartbeat is death. So that's what happens. So this is what the virus does in your system. Now, some of us have antibodies that are able to take care. Your cell has an outer epithelial cell, and its job is to stand guard. And anything that comes up to it, it's going to say, no, you're not getting in. Or if it's lax and weak, oh yeah, come on in, whatever, We want healthy cells. Okay. What keto did for me was it caused me to quit the junk food. It helped me lose weight, strengthening my immune system so I can fight against these viruses and bacteria. Fungal, I will get into that in my next video because I'm going to get really expound on these germs that get inside our body and what they do. So keto forced me to put aside sugar, which we know is inflammatory, and flour is inflammatory. Grains are inflammatory. Eating garbage that is repackaged as food is not immune strengthening, cell strengthening. It's actually the opposite. So what doing keto did for me was I was making better choices, right? I'm not eating the garbage. I'm not eating the chips and the pasta and the potatoes. Yes, I said potatoes and rice. Rice is a grain, corn's a grain. To a diabetic, corn is, is a carb, and it's insulin raising. Well, they don't need that, okay? So I started eating meats and vegetables in the form of, above ground vegetables. Your below ground vegetables have more carbs. And my first goal at the first was to lose weight, okay? But then I kind of jumped on board with, well, I'm doing this for my health. Let me eat the really healthy things, and then the weight loss will follow, which it did. So by losing weight, I bumped up my immunity and my risk to C19 went down. I love how Naked and Afraid does the first percentages, right? They're like, okay, they get this percentage for being a survivalist and so on and so forth. And then at the end, however they competed in the show, here comes the mailman. This is going to get ugly. Sorry. Might have to pause. So anyway, at the end, they are deducted points, and they are given points, for what they did to survive. That's how it works. So that's kind of how it works with, your health. Here it comes. You're either building your immunity through, eating proper, or you're taking away from your immunity by eating crap, okay? I might have sounded preachy at the beginning. I may have flooded my Facebook page with ideas on how to eat better, and some anatomical information. What does food do once it's in your stomach, in your system? What happens? Well, the main thing is the insulin response, right? So when you eat food, your insulin goes up, even protein, okay? But it's how fast it comes back down and keeping it down. It's the up, down, up, down, up, down that is really wreaking havoc on your system. And so I was making salads, I was eating above ground vegetables, and then I started adding, sweet potatoes and squash and stuff like that. Well, squash is above ground, but a few carrots, Tomatoes have carbs, but at first I kind of cut those kind of things out, but then I figured it out, thanks to Dr. Berg, that I need to be healthy first and then the weight will fall off. And it did. I mean, that was absolutely true. So I feel like I spent 2 years, I don't want to say speaking in the wind. I hope that some seed fell on somebody and they got it, I had a lot of comments. They weren't very nice always. But I defended myself by saying, look at the obesity rates. Look at America has the highest disease in the world, really. And non-fat didn't do us any good. It made us fatter and sicker. So we have to rethink this. We got to look this over. Why did we spend 60 years doing low fat? It didn't do us any good. It made us worse. A lot of experts have spent 100, 80, 70, 60, 50, 40 years on this low carb ketogenic map, right? There's a lot of names. You can look them up or PM me. I will tell you who they are. Dr. Westman, he's been doing low carb for 40 years. He's one of the best of the best. He basically learned from Atkins, and then Atkins passed away when he fell and bumped his head. But his nurse, very instrumental in helping Dr. Westman get, to where he is. And the research is there. And they say, oh, it's this, it's that. The research is there. But the doctors and scientists that have thought that low fat was the end all be all, pretty much squashed that, right? Oh no, you're wrong. Sat fat, makes you have heart disease. No, it doesn't, but that's okay. We'll get into that later. But for the most part, my thing right now is I am thankful that God sent me on this 2-year health and low carb immune boosting journey because I have severe asthma. I was 6 weeks old when I got my first attack. I was in an oxygen tent for I think 6 weeks when I was 5 or 6 for bronchitis so bad. I mean, I almost died. Okay. We lived in Michigan and Indiana, very humid back there. The doctors told my parents, you need to move her to the West Coast or she will die. So that's what we did. We loaded up the truck and we moved to Beverly. Actually, it was Chico, but you get the point. We moved because my lungs could not take humidity. I needed that dry air, and I did pretty well. I mean, I grew up with all the other childhood things, one of which we're going to get into in another one of these videos, the tonsils. We all learned about this in school, and we just went, okay, get by to get my grade, right? Wow, didn't pay attention. I will be getting into that because I have a fascinating story. So, I mean, I had strep throat, I had bronchitis. I was always sick as a kid, but I didn't have the life-threatening asthma and the bronchial pneumonia and things like that. I mean, your lungs are important. I don't understand people smoking and putting these carcinogenics in your lungs. Without your lungs, your heart can't function. Your lungs put oxygen in your blood and carries it to your heart. Then your heart pumps it out into your body. This is basic anatomy. And that's what feeds your cells and your muscles and your tissues is oxygenated blood. Now, if you have now carcinogized that blood supply, you're spreading cancer throughout your body. I don't get it. It saddens me, really. I have family members who smoke, and it breaks my heart. My grandpa died of emphysema. He suffocated. And a lot of other family members have drank and smoked themselves to death, which is equally sad. But in this day and age of information, really, there is no reason to do this. To put your body in a situation where it cannot handle what we are seeing today. And that's video 1. I thank you for watching, and I will be posting video 2 soon.